People love Clayton Christensen's Innovator's Dilemma. I'm a fan, but I don't think it applies that much anymore in today's world. I think the modern innovator's dilemma is not that we don't need this new technology because the existing technology is fine. It's more like we think bringing products to market is really easy. So our personal expertise might be, for example, in healthcare. And we can figure out, using new technology, all of these ways that we can benefit patients or healthcare providers. And then we make this leap that all we got to do is produce product and the market will beat a path to its door. This is really an old entrepreneur's dilemma. It's the field of dreams dilemma. If we build it, the people will come. But that's not the case. Markets are more complicated than ever. People are inundated with misinformation and, oh yeah, some real information too. They have multiple choices, not only for products and options, but even how they're going to spend money on this type of product or some other type of product. So there's a vast amount of competition for people's mind space. And how do we actually create markets where addressing needs sufficiently that people will actually change their behavior? All products require our customers to change their behavior. They were doing something before, now they have our product, they're doing something different. And so what we really need to do is not focus just on can we build the product. I don't think there's that much technical risk anymore. We kind of know we can build product. Instead, we need to focus on, are people actually willing to change their behavior in order to adopt and become satisfied and maybe even passionate about our product? So the second phase in the lead innovation process is to do market validation. And the idea in market validation is to prove that we actually have a market before we invest a lot of money into building the product. Inside of large enterprises, you already have successful R&D, perhaps, operational excellence, distribution, sales engine, strong brand marketing. These are all assets that, say, startups need to create. They don't come born with them. And so there's a lot of advantages for large organizations to move into new markets or move into markets held by other people and actually create products and services that might win. People make the mistake, however, that because they have these existing engines in their existing markets, they'll be able to apply them to these new markets. When creating new products for new markets, what you have to understand is the market doesn't really care about you. It's like capitalist existentialism. It's as if Jean-Paul Sartre was an economist instead of a philosopher. We work in a universe of uncaring markets. So in order to validate that a market exists, we actually have to go out into the market, understand our customers deeply, run some experiments, and try to figure out whether or not we'll be able to change people's behavior in order for this new product or this new business model to succeed. Customers aren't rational. You can't just produce a better product or a less expensive product and expect to win. There are a lot of people that want to buy more expensive products that do way fancier things. Customers are not rational. We can't build our businesses around customers making rational decisions. I once worked for a startup that had technology that was way better than the 800-pound gorilla that was our competitor. We were less expensive and more powerful. It seemed obvious to us that the IT managers should choose us. We were asking those IT managers to take out all of this product that was essentially working well enough for them and to put our stuff in place. What happens if something goes wrong in between the move? What happens if, as a startup, we go out of business? So there is actually a fear there among the IT managers that they're better off not making the change. So then it becomes our job to trying to convince them and to create this sense of trust and safety that allows the IT managers to make the shift. Or we have to hope that there's a change in the economy or the environment that makes their decision-making process different. And that's actually what happened. Businesses are not a market. Human beings exist inside those businesses, and they're the ones that are making the buying decisions. Again, in a business-to-business sale, we still have to go in and understand our customers, their needs, their aspirations, their environment, their obstacles, in order for us to successfully go tackle that market. These human beings inside these businesses are also inundated with misinformation, disinformation, and information. How many LinkedIn spam emails did you get last week? Despite all of this, most companies still rely on doing the work of overcoming technical risk. Can we build a product? Rather than the market risk, do they even want the product? We are very capable today of efficiently producing products that nobody wants. We have to flip that. We have to now spend time overcoming market risks so that we don't waste a bunch of time and money and resources building products nobody wants. The approach we take for market validation includes design thinking principles as well as rapid experimentation. For the work we do in market validation, really the empathy work to understand our customers deeply, as well as rapid experimentation. The first step is to hypothesize who you think your ideal customer is. You need a discovery phase to create your market segments. Each one of your market segments is represented by one of these ideal customer or a persona. The persona is not an amalgamation of demographics. Are people with shared needs and speak the same language. And what I mean by speak the same language is that they would actually refer to each other for solutions that address the shared needs. This persona includes key characteristics and behaviors and motivations and goals and obstacles that represent that market segment. You want to then go out and validate that those people truly exist. And again, this is work on the street. This is not sitting around a boardroom table imagining that you're the customer. It's actually getting out, going and visiting them, whether it's on-site in a business or at a mall. It's observing them, it's interviewing them. It's trying to understand that what you think this customer is and what they look like in their behaviors and their needs and their aspirations, that these people actually exist in the real world. You're not trying to do this at scale. You have to go small before you can go big. If you can't prove that they exist in a small way, then all of the surveys in the world aren't going to prove that they exist either. And a matter of fact, the data that you're going to get back from a large survey is going to steer you in the wrong direction. So validate in person first. After you've validated in person, you can use a tool like a survey because the in-person interviews have told you about the characteristics and the behaviors and these things that you know to be true. So you can then use tools and techniques to go and see if they exist in a larger number. And so that's a way that you can validate some degree of market sizing. Again, you're not assuming that your existing customers represent this population that you're going to be able to sell to. You don't know that. You have a new value proposition. You have a new product. You actually are giving them new reasons to engage with your business. So you can't assume that all of the things that you have before are going to apply to this new market. The other part of this is the rapid experiment. Experimentation separates what people say from what they do. When you go out and do interviews and you're observing customers and you're talking to them, you really want to avoid questions that ask about the customer's future. In other words, oh, well, would you behave in this way? And what would you do if I presented you with this and that? How much would you pay? Customers are horrible about answering those questions. They actually don't really know. They don't really know until they're in the situation and they've got money in their pocket and they're ready to buy. So you really want to avoid those type of questions. But you can construct experiments that result in customers behaving in a particular way that demonstrates that their willingness to do something. So the process in these rapid experiments is to come up with a list of assumptions. So the practice around running these experiments is to brainstorm all of the things that must be true for this product to succeed in the market. So not only from a product perspective, but from a marketing and a selling and a distribution and a business model perspective. These are all assumptions. Some of these assumptions have lots of evidence. Some of these assumptions have absolutely no evidence, and then there's a lot in between. So you want to try to separate out what are the assumptions that are critical to the success of the business, but also we don't really have a lot of evidence for. In other words, if one of these key assumptions is wrong, we're going to have to change some fundamental ideas about this business that we're trying to create. When you're designing an experiment, you want to create a hypothesis. The more discipline you apply when running an experiment, the greater your ability to use the data generated from the experiment to make real decisions on the future of the product. So you're running an experiment that is testing one of your riskiest assumptions. Very critical for the business to succeed, and also not a lot of evidence in supporting that assumption. So you want to create a hypothesis. If we do X, if we run this particular experiment, we believe Y percentage of the customers that engage with that experiment behave in way Z. That Z is the opportunity to learn from the customers about what they're willing to do. So there's tons of examples of these experiments out there. A very simple example might be a landing page. Real companies have been started by putting up landing pages that have their value proposition messaging with a big buy now button. The customer clicks on the buy now, and then they get a page that says, we're not ready right now, but if you provide us your email address, we'll let you know when we're ready to go. So this is a small amount of currency, an email address, that represents that they are actually interested in the value proposition that was on the landing page. There's also other pretty big experiments. People run pop-up stores, or even Best Buy ran a pop-up store in its own parking lot, and they engaged with customers before they went into the store. These pop-up stores are saying, if we had a retail store, would you be willing to buy these products, or would you be willing to engage with us in this particular way? Capital One ran one of these type of experiments to demonstrate the potential of their cafes. Once you've run the experiment, you're generating evidence about customer behavior. We take that data and now we can say, listen, this assumption was validated, or this assumption was invalidated, or maybe we need to run a better experiment. From that point, we can go on and test whether we can run additional experiments, or perhaps there's something fundamental that we need to change about our business idea. So this combination of design thinking and rapid experimentation allows us to understand our markets way better, and there's something actually there that we can produce a product that addresses the needs of these customers. The likely outcome early on is that you're iterating. You're iterating on your customer segments, you're iterating on your product idea, you're iterating on your value proposition. But all of these iterations hopefully are honing you into what the real market opportunity is. And again, you're presenting data that then you can share with leadership that validates that this is an opportunity you should be pursuing. Of course, the gutsy reaction is also to be able to look at all of the data and say, there's no legs to this idea and we should shut it down. Market validation requires you to be invalidated as well as be validated. I hope you found value in this market validation part of the lean innovation process. Thank you for listening. Market validation is a key step in your lean innovation process to launch new products and services that benefit the world as well as your company. We hope you enjoyed this presentation.